turning it on YouTube and on Facebook. We're live now. Cool. We're going to give it a few minutes. Let some people jump on as we always do. Morning. Hope you're good. Guys on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, just leave me a comment or an emoji in the comments. Just let me know that you can hear me. You can see me okay. We're going to give it another minute before we get started. And then we're going to get into it. Just making sure we've got everything. Hope everyone's good. Thanks for jumping on this lovely, what time we're recording this lovely Monday. Mega weather here in the UK. Been quite fucking lucky to have some decent weather over the past couple of weeks. Unfortunately, though, I still don't have my bike rear wheel, so I've not been able to get out and cycle, which is a bit annoying, but hopefully it will be back this week. So I can get on the bike. Hope you guys are making the most of this weather if you're in the UK. Cool. Right. Shall we? We'll get into it. We'll hit record. Sweet. Right. 3, 2, 1. What's happening, gang? Welcome to another episode of the Title Movement Podcast, the number one podcast, number one place to be if you're a type 1 diabetic or know a type 1, love a type 1, parents of a type 1, anything type 1. We love you all here. So before we do get started, please leave me a rating and review on the podcast app, as it really does help me reach more type 1 diabetics and positively impact our community. So in today's episode, I'm going noteless. I've got no show notes or nothing like that. I wanted to kind of just go off the cuff with it, and it's how to accept your diabetes without actually accepting your diabetes. The headline of it was to hook you in a little bit, and it's probably done that. You're like, how the fuck can you accept it without accepting it? But we're going to get into that shortly. Like I said, before we get started, screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, tag me at type1_Tom, and please leave me a rating and a review if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, as it really does help the show and help the podcast, and I appreciate that. So before we get into it, a little bit of what's going on with me at the moment. Obviously, you guys know if you've been listening to my podcast or got me on Instagram over the past few months, I've been looking at buying a house. And finally, last week, I got my mortgage offer, which I'm completely buzzing with. We've not got a completion date yet. Next step is exchanging contracts. But I'm just feel super blessed and grateful to actually be able to do this and do this by myself, because it's probably one of the biggest decisions that we'll ever make in our lives, isn't it? So I feel... just going to shut my window there so we get no noise in. I feel super grateful to be able to do that. And I want to say a huge, because I think things like this always come from a chain of events, right? It's not just a certain event. This is going to tie in nicely to what I want to get talking about shortly. But I do just want to say thank you to you guys, to my family, to my friends, to my clients, you guys who support the show, because without that, I wouldn't be who I am and in a position to be able to make such a huge life-changing decision of buying a house. So you guys, even you guys listening to this podcast, you have had a part to play in this as well, just by listening, messaging me, keeping me inspired, keeping me motivated to put content out, record podcasts, show up for you guys, show up for myself. So I want you guys to know how grateful I am of you all. Thank you. And obviously my team, my clients listening to this, any friends and family, because like I always say, we don't achieve great things like this on our own. Yeah, like no man is a mountain, right? And community is huge. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys. And that leads us on nicely to what I want to actually chat about. And that's accepting your diabetes without actually accepting it. So this was inspired by a few people I've spoken to. And we always like to think of the starting point of actually taking control of our diabetes is accepting it. And it's usually like we need to accept something before we can start to take control of it, right? And it got me thinking. We were having a chat with a few people who've just joined my program and people in the past, and it got me thinking. And I think, you know what? I know, like, well, when I was first diagnosed, I didn't really think about it. I kind of threw myself straight into the work. And that's how I kind of got my acceptance. And I think that's a key point. You guys who were diagnosed at an early age, obviously it's going to be a bit different for you. You're still going to be able to take something from this episode, though. But I think one of the biggest things about accepting something is the worry and the procrastination. Like, what if stuff goes wrong? What do I need to do? How am I going to put the work in? And it was same on a different scale. Like, before I created the program that I have now, helping other type 1s, there was so much procrastination and overthinking and shit like that from me, which I actually held off for nearly 12 months of actually creating the program that now is, I like to say, super successful. We've got a team. We've helped we're at about 28 type 1s achieving an HbA1c of 6.5% or below. But before creating this program, I was like, oh, how am I going to make it work? And I was overthinking all this stuff. And I think like acceptance to our diabetes can be the same at times. And especially if you're like newly diagnosed, not so much as if you've been diagnosed as a kid. But I think the key thing, and this doesn't just go for accepting diabetes and stuff like this, anything else, this is the main point here. Just start doing the work. Just start doing the work. Yeah. And I think then acceptance will come. I think we like to try and get everything planned out, everything mapped out. We have these little goals and stuff. And we think there needs to be a perfect time before we can start doing the work, right? When really, I do truly believe that if we start doing the work, that's when we're in the thick of it and we start to accept it. Yeah. So, for example, if you're waiting and predicting what like your blood glucose levels are going to be, and you never actually make a change to making adjustments, to testing more, you're never going to be able to know what you're going to need to do, and you're never going to be able to accept it, if that makes sense. So I think the main point I'm trying to get across here is start by doing the work. Yeah. Like I said, before I created the program that I've now got for helping other type 1s, I was trying to make sure everything was perfect. And then eventually I just had to be like, right, I need to get out of my own fucking way. And I just started doing the work and I built it as I went. And it's the same with your diabetes. Like, if you are struggling to accept it or struggling to achieve a specific goal in terms of your blood glucose, time in target, average, HbA1c, it just starts by you stepping out your own way and doing the work. Yeah. So what do I mean by doing the work? I spoke about this on a lot of podcasts. The first one will be testing more frequently, keeping an eye on your CGMs, keeping an eye on your Dexcoms, just so you know like where your levels are. Yeah. You need to know your numbers before you can look to improve them. Yeah. And then the other thing will be willing to run like basal tests, insulin to carb ratio. I've actually got a podcast episode. Can't remember which one it is, so you might have to go through them because there's like 130 odd now, of the exact principles and the step-by-step process that I use with clients when they start my program. Yeah, and that's all about doing the work. But I think the key point is, and this is chats I've had with other type 1s so much in the past, you can sit there and realize, right, we've got so much fucking work to do as a type 1 diabetic. And it is tough. It's going to be frustrating at times. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, like literally with our levels. But I think we never truly accept something until we actually start doing the work. Yeah. Until we actually start doing the work, that's when we start to accept it, because you're like, right, okay, it just becomes a daily routine. And it's important not to think too much about it. Like I say, normally people struggle with acceptance when they start to overthink it. Yes, there's a lot of things we've got to think about as a type 1, right? But you need to try and not overthink this shit, because that's when it gets overwhelming. We try changing so many things at once. It can get to a point where we just don't accept it. You know what? I've spoken to type 1s in the past where they've accepted it, but then it's become that much for them. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. They stop accepting it. They stop testing. They stop looking at the levels because it gives them anxiety. You know what I mean? Some even stop injecting and stuff. And I think that comes from, it's basically like diabetes burnout, isn't it? When you start like worrying and you get overwhelmed, you get frustrated. So I think if we just focus on what I say to a lot of my clients, focus on the here and now, day by day, are the things that you can actually take control over. Yeah. But I think accepting, like I say, some type 1s that like have accepted it and then they struggle a little bit and it's like they fall back into non-acceptance because they stop doing the work. Yeah. But I always say, if you're focusing on each day as it comes, just focusing on doing the work, counting your carbs, running tests, checking your levels, keeping active, decent amount of sleep. These are all the basics. I've done so many podcasts on this. These are just the basics. You think about doing that and not so much overwhelming yourself with trying to predict the future or what's going on. And that's going to really help you in terms of acceptance. Yeah. So I think some people need to think that they need to fully accept something before they can start to take control of it. And in a sense, yes, in a sense, but you can't sit around waiting to accept, right, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I know I've got to do this, this, and this, and not actually doing what you know you should be doing. The full acceptance will come from that, yeah, from actually going and putting the work in every single day, yeah. So it is a shorter episode than normal, this podcast, but I just wanted to say that, and I want to get this across to anyone who feels that they're struggling with acceptance. There's never going to be a perfect time the bell's just going to drop, the whistle's going to fucking go, if you like. You're going to be like, right, I accept it now, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I need to do the work. No, you start first by doing the work, and then that just becomes your daily routines, it becomes habits, it becomes who you are as a person, and it's how you start to live your life. And then you won't be thinking about accepting it, you will have just accepted it because you're now doing the work. Think of it like this, like acceptance of it is actually doing the work you need to do as a type 1. And we went over this before, it's counting your carbs, fats, and protein, because obviously they're going to affect your blood glucose as well. Being willing to run tests, being willing to make adjustments, connecting with other type 1s. That's another big thing. Community. If you feel so secluded on your own, like I'm the only type 1 in the fucking world, when you know that you're not, but you're in your own little bubble, you're never truly going to put the work in or accept the condition because you think you're on your own. When you see other type 1 diabetics thriving, taking control, living the best life, even though I fucking hate that, but you know what I'm saying? You're going to be like, hey, like this is possible. These are doing it. And that's just going to like overflow onto you, and you'll take some of their energy, and then you'll start to accept it without even thinking about accepting it. But it all starts by just putting one fucking foot in front of the other. Just start. One foot in front of the other, and the rest will come from there. Will always take care of itself. Guys, that is it. If you got value from this episode, please leave me a rating and a review on the podcast app, as it really does help me reach and inspire our type 1 community. I will just go over this again, guys. Don't wait to accept something. Start by doing the work, and then acceptance will come. Not just with your diabetes, with anything. The main thing that stops people accepting something and even doing the fucking work is procrastination, overwhelm, and overthinking it. But that's down on you. Just start one foot in front of the other. Do something today that you know's going to help your control, improve your health. Yeah. Do something today. Then you've started, and then it creates that snowball effect. Guys, thank you very much for listening today. Catch you in the next episode. But until then, peace. We've got a couple on YouTube. Thanks, team. We've got a like as well. A couple on Facebook. If you're on Instagram. Guys, that is it. We're going to jump off. Thank you very much for watching this live and lending me your eyes and ears today. Hope you all have a fucking mega week, as it is Monday, the time I'm recording this. Have the fucking best week ever. Go and smash your control, smash your goals, and I'll catch you all in the next live. Peace.